Hi, I'm Annie. Today I'm going to talk about an ENFP's worst fear. Well, I can really only speak for myself. I'm going to talk about my worst fear, which is jury duty. It is September 15th, 2020. I'm in Eugene, Oregon. The air quality here is still at hazardous levels. The wildfires started last Monday on Labor Day, and pretty much all of Oregon was flooded with toxic smoke, and it still hasn't lifted. But anyway, back to my biggest fear, jury duty. It's been my worst fear for a while, but it's only now that I'm really starting to understand it through the lens of cognitive functions and understand it as it relates to my type. If you follow objective personality, my OP type is masculine, feminine, NEFI, consume, sleep, blast, play. I've been called into jury duty a few times. The first time I got called in was a really rough time in my life a few years ago, and I was really nervous. It was a time in my life where I already felt plagued by so much bureaucratic bullshit, where there was such a bureaucratic shitstorm that was affecting my life in so many ways. So that's part of the fear, just a fear of bureaucracy in general. And it was during that time of my life when I got called to jury duty, and I was just feeling really sensitive about bureaucracy and authority, and just feeling really helpless, like trying to do the right thing, trying to take care of myself, and there were so many unnecessary roadblocks. So anyway, when you go to jury duty, you're supposed to consider the law and listen to the evidence and ignore all other possibilities. You're not supposed to think about what might happen to the person being tried in a year, 5 years, 10 years. You're just supposed to think about what is the law, what is the evidence, did they commit the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. You are not allowed to think outside of the box. And that isn't even possible for someone with lead NE. And I'm so worried that the jury will be hung because of my fucking masculine FI. If I can't make a decision that's in alignment with my FI, then it could be a stalemate. There's going to be evidence and a few different perspectives presented in the trial, but my NE will come up with completely different perspectives. It's going to think of all the possibilities and all of the perspectives. And I can't help it. That's just what NE does. And it's not a game to me. I'm not trying to be contrary. That's just how my mind works. I'm just NE and a double decider. And double deciding is not the best thing at 4:58 p.m. when the jury still hasn't come to a consensus. Everyone wants to go home, but you're just stuck there because some masculine FI DI asshole won't go along with what everyone else in the tribe wants to do. And I'm not being difficult to be difficult. I want the best for my country and for, the person that's being tried. Sometimes I just have to dig in my heels when I really believe something. So when you get to jury duty, you sit in this room. Everybody is in there who's been called to jury duty that morning. They come in and call some of you to get interviewed to see if they want to pick you for the trial. But mostly you're just sitting there. And while we were sitting there, they played this instructional video about the process. And in the video, they could have just given the facts. They could have plainly described the procedures and the responsibilities associated with serving on jury. But this thing was so emotionally manipulative, it made me sick. It had this soaring, heroic music equating serving on jury duty to bodily harm in war. Serving on jury duty is as heroic and valiant as bleeding for your country. I mean, can we please keep blood out of this? The video literally said that jury duty was an honor and a freedom worth dying for. I'm not sure why they needed to go there. Just tell us what jury duty is, how it works, and what's expected of us. Don't use all this emotional manipulation. It's really gross. I had to just get up and leave the room. I went outside for a little while to get some fresh air because it just really upset me. Jingoism is disgusting to me. Let's talk honestly about what our country is and isn't. Let's not pretend that it's amazing. It's good and bad, okay? Double decider, there are some good things and there are some bad things. The United States is not Disneyland. It's kind of a shit show right now. It's complicated. There's a lot of dysfunction. So using this emotional manipulation to try to appeal to some overzealous patriotism is just the wrong way to speak to me. I see right through it and I don't appreciate it. Let's speak to each other adult to adult about what's really going on here. in the country and in the courthouse. Why are we here? What is required of us? That's all you need to say. We don't need like a marching band and some fireworks. Okay, that's not going to cover up the reality of what we're dealing with here, the good and the bad. And I know there's going to be some single decider out there listening to this thinking that I hate my country. And that isn't it at all. Double deciding. There are good things, there are bad things. Let's be honest about this. You just can't gloss it over with a patriotic song and some fireworks. It doesn't work like that. So what got me to thinking about jury duty was a radio show. I listened to Radio Lab, and they did a show about jury nullification. And it's so funny because the woman in the story, she was actually probably an ENFP. She was so chaotic. Like, she lost her jury duty paper, and like she only remembered that she had jury duty that morning, which would never happen to me because like I am an ENFP, but I also have masculine SI, and I'm just like really, really conscientious. I know where all my things are in my house, like all the important scary pieces of mail, you know, like the DMV thing and the jury duty notice. I know exactly where all that stuff is. It's like filed away. Anyway, this lady, she just like woke up one morning like, oh shit, yeah, I have jury duty, you know, and oh man, I couldn't live like that. That's too chaotic for me. So jury nullification. Actually, there is this loophole that says that if you're serving on a jury, you can refuse to convict a peer of a crime if you do not agree with the law. If you think that it's a bad law. We've got a lot of bad laws in this country, don't we? So here's just an example of something that would make me really uncomfortable. And this wouldn't happen in Oregon, but I could imagine it happening in other states. Say you have a young 19-year-old black boy and he's pulled over in a routine traffic stop. And say for some reason the cops search his car and they find an ounce of marijuana. In a lot of places, that's a federal crime. Well, it's a federal crime everywhere, but it's like legal in states. You just can't cross, you know, you get it. You know what the laws are. Anyway, this young black kid making this like minor mistake for weed, you know, which is like the least of our worries, okay? Here in Oregon, weed grows on trees. Literally, that's how it grows. And, you know, we're all pretty relaxed and we sleep really well at night. We don't make an issue out of that. But there's this Reagan-era bullshit that puts young black men disproportionately in jail for possession of marijuana. And it's not okay. This can ruin a young person's life. And so I imagine if I was on a trial where there was a young man like that being tried, and maybe he said, I swear I didn't do it. I swear it was planted. I swear it wasn't mine. Maybe it was his, maybe it wasn't. I don't really care. He can carry around as much weed as he wants, as far as I'm concerned. But you cannot say beyond a shadow of a doubt that it wasn't planted, you know? So that would like plant enough doubt in my mind where I would be like, man, I can't send this kid away. Like, what if his buddy that he just dropped off, you know, right before he got pulled over really did leave this weed in the car? Do we really want to send this young kid to jail for who knows how long? And you're not supposed to, as the juror, consider the sentence. But of course, like if this jury is hung and you go home that night to sleep on it and you're going to reconvene the next morning, of course you're going to look up what is the possible sentence because you're worried about this kid. How long is he going to have to be in jail if he's convicted? Of course you're going to think about these things because you're human. Because of jury nullification, you can refuse to convict if you think it's a bad law. And I do happen to think that that's a bad law. I don't think that we should be housing people in jail for marijuana. That's just stupid. We've got much bigger problems to deal with. And we don't need more people in jail, even aside from the institutionalized racism. We just have a disproportionate number of people in jail in our country. It's unnecessary and it's embarrassing. So anyway, this woman in the story, she did dig in her heels, she put her foot down, and she refused to convict. And the judge arrested her for contempt of court. Now, he can arrest her, but she cannot actually be charged with this. And he probably knew that. You see, that's abusive. I mean, when you have that much power and you're just a bully, he probably knew that she could not be convicted of this. So he can arrest her and make her life uncomfortable, but she will never be convicted of this because we have this thing called jury nullification, and it's a good thing. It's checks and balances. Laws and policies in this country evolve because of resistance, and that's why we have jury nullification. Because if there's a law that's bad and the people think it's bad, they need to be able to speak up about it. And it just sucks if you're an ENFP in a courtroom, because there might be a lot of other people that just want to go along with the tribe, and they just want to get this thing over with so they can go home and eat dinner. It's easier. It's easier to just go along with what the other jurors think. But for someone like me, just with my specific cognitive functions, the NE, thinking about all of the possibilities, and the masculine FI, having a hard time doing things that aren't in alignment with my values, that would be a really uncomfortable situation for me, and just really uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good if you have a bunch of other jurors that hate you and think you're a pain in the ass and just want you to fall in line. So I think I am seen as a very contrary person, but it's not on purpose. It's not just contrary for the sake of being contrary. It's I'm just thinking and deciding for myself and saying what I believe. And I'm flexible in some areas, but in other areas, I just can't. I can't go against my own values. So anyway, I'm happy to know about jury nullification, because that's cool. We need that. We need checks and balances in this country. If there's a stupid law that shouldn't exist and needs to get re-examined and changed, then the people should be able to speak up about that. But the thing is, nobody knows about it. Very few people know about jury nullification. So, they're just doing what they're told to do. In conclusion, jury duty is my biggest fear. Bye now.